Hello and welcome. We begin with Sudan. The Sudan civil war has entered its third year. The conflict, which erupted as a power struggle between rival generals of the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF, has taken a devastating toll on the country. 2 years into the conflict, peace still remains elusive, and the nation is teetering on the brink of a divide, with two rival administrations emerging. To mark 2 years of war in Sudan, the United Kingdom is hosting a global conference in London. The UK is co-hosting the event with the African Union, the European Union, France and Germany. Egypt, Kenya and the United Arab Emirates are among the attendees. But absent from the table are the warring parties themselves. The Sudanese government has reacted furiously, questioning the decision to host the conference without the recognized government of Sudan. It has also criticized the presence of the UAE and Kenya, accusing both countries of supporting the RSF. Meanwhile, ahead of the meeting, the UK announced $158 million in funding for the coming year to deliver food aid to 650,000 people in Sudan. The UK says its conference is not a peace initiative, but rather an effort to relieve the worsening humanitarian crisis in Sudan. On the ground, the ongoing power struggle between the Sudanese army, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the RSF, led by Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, continues to intensify. Let's provide an overview of the situation in Sudan's 2-year-long civil war. Now, as things stand now, the Sudanese army has gained the upper hand, recapturing the capital Khartoum and reversing the early advances made by the RSF. However, the RSF still controls large parts of the country, creating a divided Sudan, both politically and territorially. This brings us to the political implications of the conflict. The RSF has announced the formation of a rival government in areas under their control. Now, this declaration took place in Nairobi, Kenya, and has escalated tensions with the Sudanese government. And now let's turn to the foreign involvement in the conflict. Multiple countries have been accused of backing one side or the other, allegedly pursuing their own strategic interests and fueling the conflict. Sudan has taken the UAE to the International Court, accusing it of supporting the RSF and being complicit in genocide during the civil war. The UAE has been accused of secretly supplying weapons to the paramilitary groups in Sudan via Chad, a charge it strongly denies. And then there's the humanitarian impact. As per estimates, over 150,000 people have died in the conflict. More than 14 million have been displaced, making it the world's largest displacement crisis. Approximately 24.6 million Sudanese are facing acute food insecurity, with 500,000 at risk of famine. Healthcare facilities have collapsed, with over 75% of medical infrastructure in conflict zones now non-functional. Both the Sudan Army and the RSF have been accused of committing war crimes, including genocide and sexual violence. Despite multiple peace efforts, the conflict continues to linger, with both sides engaged in a blame game. The international actors have been accused of prioritizing their own vested interests in the resource-rich nation. As Sudan's war enters a third year, the country stands deeply divided, with rival governments, foreign interference, and a deepening crisis on the ground. How can peace unfold? Now, to discuss this further, we have with us Dr. Oluwale Ojewale, the Regional Coordinator for Central Africa at the Institute for Security Studies in Dakar. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
What are the implications of excluding Sudan's internationally recognized government from these London-hosted conference talks? And how might this impact the diplomatic efforts to end the conflict?
I think this has a very serious implication, considering the fact that it's practically impossible to be able to arrive at a permanent or a short-term solution without consciously integrating the warring parties, particularly since peace is the end in view. And the political crisis that actually led to the war in the first place clearly show that both parties are illegitimate. On the part of the Sudan military administration, the military government, they seized power through the barrel of gun, which is completely unconstitutional. And the RSF that is challenging or trying to contest state authority with Sudanese army is also a rebel group, not in any way elected or enjoying the mandate or the legitimacy of the people. So I think that probably informed the reason why none of the party was invited to the ongoing summit in London. But beyond that, I think international community has conferred some level of legitimacy on the Sudanese army, and it's just very important that they are considered in such meeting. But the organizers of the meeting are also very clear to say the meeting is not really about finding lasting solution to the crisis in Sudan, but actually to probably provide some humanitarian aid to the people who are in dear need of that. So the big question is, for how long would they sustain such gesture if the overarching objective is only to provide humanitarian support and not pushing in the direction of negotiating for permanent peace?
Right. 2 years into the war, what have been the most devastating humanitarian consequences? And in your view, how effective has international aid and mediation been so far?
Yes, more than 14 million people have been displaced. Critical infrastructure have been destroyed in Sudan, in Khartoum, Afasha, and other critical cities. I think the country as a whole is in a shadow of its past, in the sense that life is now close to obeisance era in which life is short, brutish, and close to death, if we can put it that way, because you don't know the next person that is probably going to be gunned down. Just a few days ago, there was an attack at the displacement camp in which the internally displaced persons have also become another round of collateral damage in terms of the level of destruction that is going on in the country. Food is not within reach. Basic amenities are not within reach. Hospitals have been destroyed. Roads have been destroyed. Critical infrastructures have been destroyed. And these, in a very significant way, limited the quality of life of Sudanese. And the center can no longer hold for the people in terms of the quality of life of the people that are living in Sudan now. So why does it appear that it's very difficult to find lasting peace? I think because the global community has not really prioritized the crisis in Sudan. And the critical actors on the continental level are probably not doing enough. And I put this responsibility at the feet of AU, who have all the mechanism and protocols to be able to address critical political crises like the one that we face in Sudan and Congo. But it's probably having those ideas seated on the pages of reports, on the pages of international protocols that they've developed, which they've not been able to actually deploy to lessen the plight of the people and find an amicable solution to the crisis in Sudan. So I think solution is not in view. If the world continues to play this ambivalent role in prioritizing Russia war in Ukraine and then Israel war with Hamas, and then the most consequential humanitarian political crisis in the world, which is Sudan, is not being attended to. This is the state of the world. And it's unfortunate that Sudanese people find themselves at the very wrong end of the stick.
And with major global powers like the UK, France, and Germany taking the lead in this conference, you've mentioned the AU. What role should these African-based institutions like the AU or IGAD play in leading or complementing peace-building efforts?
AU is the most consequential diplomatic multilateral arrangement on the African continent to address all the multidimensional crises, whether it is food security, war, health, pandemic. I mean, the mandate is large and should be able to step up and address these crises. But I think for over a decade now, AU has not really succeeded in addressing any of these crises. And that is the reason why it appears like emerging countries, middle power nations are now the ones that are supplanting or taking on the role of AU in addressing protracted crises on the continent. Look at the countries like Qatar that out of the shadow appear to be the country that actually that was able to bring Congo and Rwanda to the table in the recent time. What is the population of Qatar? That is a very critical question, that the AU is failing where Qatar appears to be succeeding. So this is a crisis that I think AU has had to battle with. And we've been going back and forth, the role of the United Nations, the role of the United States and the European Union, UK, France, Germany, Switzerland, trying to now midwife the peace process. I think it is because they've actually discovered that the AU lacks the capacity to be able to actually negotiate this crisis. It is unfortunate, but this is where we are, like I said earlier. This is the state of Africa. And then if the foremost multilateral agency is not able to provide solution to a 2 years political crisis, then they have to look for salvation elsewhere. And that is the reason why we can't but support anybody that actually make a move to bring about peace to the crisis in Sudan. Because the people of Sudan really care about where the peace comes from at this point. They just want a lasting solution to their crisis. And they wouldn't care whether that is brokered by Germany or the United Kingdom or France or United States of America. Peace is desperately needed, just like someone that is thirsty for water in Sudan.
Right. Doctor, as always, great to have you on the show. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
I love India.
Presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India, what we saw in Kashmir.
How do you see Trump's America?
Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration.
Are you saying that there are foreign powers who are trying to bring down the current government in Syria?
Exactly.
Iran, maybe Russia too.
Prime Minister Modi committed to South-South, cooperation.
Not over 50%.
Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.